Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a great Veterans Day show for you today. First, the LAPD rules out homicide in the teen's death amid calls for charges against the singer David, spelled with a 4. The judge rejects a bid to dismiss murder charges against the driver in that deadly Malibu crash involving the Pepperdine students. Austin Drummond indicted for murder. Crack makes a triumphant return. That's right. Crack is back, ladies and gentlemen. We have an uncle who pays his nephew to silence a victim with bullets, an example of kids these days. And a weird bank heist unfolds in Louisiana. We've got this day in legal history, our quote of the day, and our dumb criminal goes au natural. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Leave me a comment below. Hit that little bell for notifications. That's so you receive notice of when we go live or put up new content. And also, you can check us out on any of your favorite podcasting apps as well. Happy Veterans Day. For those who have served, thank you for your service. It's a very elite crowd. I believe a statistic I saw recently was only 2% of Americans these days serve in the military. So for those that did, our thanks to you for your service. All right, let me do a couple of things before we get to the docket. First of all, this is Veterans Day. But it was originally a end of World War I. So back on November 11th, 1918, at 11 a.m., the Allied powers signed an armistice with Germany, ending World War I. Armistice Day, originally as it was marked every year in Europe on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month with 2 minutes of silence. So that's how it all started. All right, let me remind you, you can get your Crime Talk gear, hottest thing going. Everybody wants them. It's time to start planning for the holidays, Christmas. Yes, the Constitution matters. And of course, I think we sold like 10 of these yesterday. Lawyer. What a great gift, ladies and gentlemen. Do it. Treat yourself. Maybe somebody's not going to get you the gift you want. Get the gift that you want. All right. Hit the link below. Go check it out. Let me also remind you, if somebody's coming into your life, maybe you're not sure if they should be staying in your life, do a background search on them. Listen, if you're going to start dating somebody, it is dating malpractice not to check somebody out. A simple Google search is not enough. You need a background search. Check out their criminal history. These are things they're not going to tell you, right? And then you get committed, and then you find out, somebody's a sex offender. You're really going to want them hanging around with your kids? Probably not. So go to crimetalksearch.com. Get that search today. You're going to find out everything you want to know and more. And remember, once you have that subscription, you can do as many searches as you desire, and you can cancel at any time. So whether you want to do one search or 100 searches, 1,000 searches a day, you can do it. crimetalksearch.com. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for Tuesday, November 11th, Veterans Day 2025. So the LAPD rules out homicide in the teen's death, for the guy that found the dismembered body, decomposing body in the singer David's car. Wait till you hear this. So police in Los Angeles have determined that no homicide occurred in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose remains were discovered in a highly decomposed state inside a vehicle linked to the rising musician David, spelled with a 4. Now, the announcement, which limits potential legal consequences to misdemeanor charges for improper handling of human remains, has drawn a little bit of criticism from the private investigator involved in the case. Now, on September 8th of 2025, one day after what would have been Rivas Hernandez's 15th birthday, employees at a Hollywood impound facility alerted the Los Angeles Police Department to what they believed to be a foul odor emanating from the black Tesla Model S. The vehicle was registered to David Anthony Burke, professionally known as the 20-year-old singer David, spelled with a 4. Anyway, that car had been towed 3 days earlier from a street near a high-end Hollywood Hills property leased by the artist's manager. Now, inside the trunk, wrapped in plastic, investigators found the teen's body, which showed signs of advanced decomposition. And the LAPD's investigation, detailed in a September 29th press release, concluded that the precise cause of death could not be established due to the body's condition. It remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of the body, the statement read. And under California law, concealing human remains constitutes a mere misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. Now, as of this reporting, no individuals have been charged, and the department has refrained from identifying any people of interest. The case obviously gained some national attention due to evidence suggesting a romantic involvement between Rivas Hernandez and Mr. David. And according to her mother, the teen left the family home in Lake Eleanor in 2024 at age 13, reportedly to pursue a relationship with someone named David. Public records and social media archives indicate the pair shared a distinctive tattoo, and numerous photographs and videos circulated online and verified through fan discussions depict them together at events, parties, and performances. Well, David's followers have speculated about a girlfriend named Celeste in chat rooms months prior, and the artist released an unreleased song titled Celeste. Location data from various images places David near the family residence in the period leading up to her disappearance. And now David was touring internationally when coincidentally the body was found and promptly canceled the remaining dates. His representatives confirmed that he has been cooperating with law enforcement at the time, though he has made no public statements since. Now, the singer has retained attorney Blair Burke, known for representing high-profile clients in complex legal matters. Complicating the narrative, LAPD officers executed a search warrant on the $20,000 per month Hollywood Hills mansion rented by David's manager, and security footage reviewed by investigators show the Tesla was last parked in front of the property on July 29th, 2025, before being relocated a short distance away following the neighbor's complaint on August 29th. It remained there until it was towed on September 5th. Now, the Stephen Fisher guy, a private investigator, retained by the property manager to examine the residence, has alleged the discovery of several implements described as agricultural tools capable of dismembering a body. In a 3-week probe, Fisher claimed these items were inconsistent with the home's typical use and suggested the vehicle may have, contained the remains as early as late July. Fisher has publicly urged prosecutors to pursue felony charges related to sexual misconduct with a minor, arguing that the alleged relationship predated Hernandez's death and warrants immediate action. And in a post on social media X, he wrote, "If the LAPD and the district attorney's office fail to charge the sex crimes against a minor in this case, it will be a true slap in the face to Celeste. She wasn't protected from the people like David while she was alive, and we at least owe her that in her death." He added, "It's time to move forward with charges. Additional charges can always be added later. Make an arrest." While the LAPD has not responded to recent inquiries beyond referencing its prior release, and neither David's legal team nor the district attorney's office has commented on potential charges. Rivas Hernandez's family held a memorial service in Lake Eleanor last month, where loved ones expressed ongoing grief and the desire for accountability. Now, as the investigation enters its 3rd month, the focus remains on forensic analysis and witness statements. Advocates for child protections have highlighted the case as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities faced by minors in relationship with adults. Updates, we'll bring them to you as they emerge. Now, this gives you a perfect example. What do I say all the time? Doesn't matter what you think, it only matters what you can prove. All right? These two were probably involved in a relationship, right? Hernandez and David. However, guess what? You would need her, unless you have some photographic evidence, to come to court and say, that's the person that I was in a relationship with, and this is my age, and this is his age, and there you go. Well, she's not coming to court, so charges aren't going to be filed in that regard. Now, obviously, the police have not been able to determine the cause of death, but somebody certainly, maybe it was an overdose, natural causes, who knows? But the coroner was unable to determine a cause and manner of death, just that the person was dismembered in this dude's car. So I don't know. If I was advising David, I would tell him to keep his mouth shut. Who knows exactly what happened? Maybe it was a tough night of partying. Like I said, could have been natural causes. Somebody freaks out. They panic. They stuff her in the trunk of the car. And to get her to fit, they got to chop a few limbs off. That is, I guess that's the worst case scenario. Basically, abuse of a corpse charges. We refer to it here in Colorado. A misdemeanor sure is a lot better than murder charges, to say the least. So this David guy, but it proves a good point. It proves a good point. This is why any defense attorney worth their salt is going to tell you to keep your mouth shut. He said nothing. He gave them nothing in which to say he did it. Case will probably go unsolved, or it'll be determined as undetermined as it relates to cause and manner of death. And there you go. Lesson learned, keep your mouth shut. And like I said, it doesn't matter what you think, only matters what you can prove. Now, certainly a lot of coincidences going on there, but what can you do? Next on the docket, Alan Jackson, the great Alan Jackson, fails to get the charges dismissed. So a Los Angeles Superior Court judge has upheld murder charges against a 24-year-old man accused of causing a high-speed crash that resulted in the death of 4 Pepperdine University students along a notorious stretch of the Pacific Coast Highway. Now, the ruling denies a defense motion to drop the most serious counts, paving the way for a potential trial that could lead to a lengthy imprisonment for the defendant. Now, Fraser Baum faces 4 counts of murder and 4 counts of vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence stemming from an October 17, 2023 incident near the Malibu's Dead Man Curve. Police allege that Baum, then 22, was operating a BMW at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour, approximately 59 miles per hour above the posted 45 mile an hour limit. Because let's face it, the BMW could usually do that, right? But obviously not in this particular case. Anyway, when he lost control and collided with 3 stationary vehicles, the impact propelled those vehicles into 4 young women who had been walking along the roadside after exiting their own car. The victim, Naima Rolston, Peyton Stewart, Asha Weir, and Deslyn Williams, were pronounced dead at the scene. Now, the women, all members of the same sorority and on track to graduate as seniors in 2024, were honored posthumously with their degree by Pepperdine University. Fine university, I might add. And incredible campus. Amazing campus. Right there overlooking Malibu. Amazing. Tried to get my daughter to go there, but she went to Chapman instead. Anyway, their families have since pursued civil litigation against the state of California, citing concerns over the road safety in the area. Now, Bond's legal team, comprising of attorney Alan Jackson, yes, that Alan Jackson, Kelly Quinn, and Jacqueline Sparanga, sought dismissal of the murder charges, contending that prosecutors lacked sufficient evidence to meet the legal requirements to have the case move forward. Of course not. Everybody knew that was not going to take place. The standard at a preliminary hearing is that you have to view the evidence in the light most favorable to the prosecution, drawing all inferences in their favor. This was a perfunctory move to try to, maybe pressure the DAs, thinking that, they have problems with their case. Apparently not. Anyway, if anybody thought the charges were going to get dismissed, they were lying to themselves. Anyway, in the court filings, they described the case as overshadowed by the tragic nature of the accident and argued that Baum had been accelerating to evade a perceived road rage confrontation with another motorist shortly before 8:30 p.m. on the evening in question. However, the prosecution dismissed that narrative as unsubstantiated, and the deputy district attorney emphasized that Baum's excessive velocity on what amounts to a residential roadway posed an intolerable risk to the public safety, irrespective of any unverified claim of fleeing aggression. They noted the absence of any mention of any such incident in Baum's initial statement to law enforcement. Furthermore, the other driver involved, Victor Calandra, has engaged separate counsel who characterized allegations of pursuit as ludicrous during Monday's proceedings. Officials have signaled their intent to call Calandras as a witness to corroborate evidence of Baum's erratic operation of the car. Now, the judge, Thomas Rubinson, rejected the dismissal motion during the Los Angeles Superior Court hearing on November 10th, affirming the viability of the murder charges. Baum, who was initially detained following the crash and rearrested on October 24th of 2023, secured release on a $4 million bail after an initial $8 million amount was halved. A subsequent bid for further reduction was unsuccessful because, their only reason was it was straining the family resources, i.e., we can't afford to live and pay these extremely expensive attorneys. Anyway, Baum is slated to return to court in January of 2026, at which time the judge will set a trial date at the arraignment. As the proceedings advanced, some pressing questions emerge. Can Baum's defense counsel conjure an unforeseen legal maneuver to shield their client from the prospect of incarceration, going to prison, or will the weight of the evidence compel a conviction on those grave charges? The outcome remains uncertain, but the prosecution's position appears firmly entrenched. We're going to see how that goes. That's just a horrible case. 104, even if you thought you were being pursued, you don't have to drive 104. And you better be able to prove it by saying, oh, look, that's the car that was pursuing me. Otherwise, it's murder. It's under extreme indifference legal theory and analysis, where basically it's complete, total disregard for the safety of others. Going 100 in a 45, how is that not the equivalent of basically shooting a firearm down a crowded street? It's extreme indifference, ladies and gentlemen. I feel sorry for this young man, but, one would say, if you were a betting man, that he's probably going to do some prison time, probably work out some sort of a deal to limit that prison time. Happens all the time, ladies and gentlemen. People do stupid things. They kill people in cars and they go to prison. Next on the docket, Austin Drummond is indicted for 4 murders. So in that quiet little town of Tiptonville, Tennessee, a tragic sequence of events unfolded that shattered a family and gripped the community. Back on July 29th of this year, police alleged that Austin Drummond, a local resident with a prior conviction for violent offenses, carried out a devastating attack, claiming the lives of 4 relatives and abducting their infant child. The victims included James M. Wilson, who was 21, his partner, Adriana Williams, 20, the parents of the 1-year-old girl who was kidnapped, Adriana's younger brother, Braden Williams, who was 15, and their mother, Courtney Rose, who was 38. Now, according to police, the family had last been seen alive the previous evening, and a concerned relative's 911 call prompted by the discovery of 2 abandoned vehicles in a secluded rural area. That led police to the wooded site where the 4 bodies were recovered. Now, Drummond, who has faced some scrutiny for his connection to the family, his girlfriend is the sibling of the infant's grandmother, allegedly fled the scene with the child in tow. He abandoned the unharmed baby on the front lawn of an unfamiliar residence in a neighboring Dyer County, sparking a frantic week-long search by law enforcement. Drummond was ultimately apprehended, ending the manhunt that had heightened tensions across the region. And then on November 11th, a Lake County grand jury formalized the charges against Drummond, indicting him on 4 counts of first-degree murder for the killings. Additional charges encompass 4 counts of unlawful firearm possession by a convicted felon, 1 count of aggravated kidnapping related to the infant's abduction, obviously, and 1 count of possessing a weapon during the perpetrating of a dangerous felony. Now, the district attorney announced that his office intends to pursue capital punishment in this case, obviously underscoring the gravity of the alleged crimes. As the legal proceedings advance, the community is going to continue to mourn the profound loss of life, the entire generation within one family. Now, while the surviving infant remains in protective care, obviously this case is a somber reminder of the devastating impact of violence everywhere across the country. Next on the docket, crack is back, ladies and gentlemen. Early in my career, crack was the nemesis on the streets. The federal sentencing guidelines, right? If you had a kilo of cocaine, it was the equivalent to like 10 grams of crack because it was so addictive. And I've run into some cases recently where people were doing crack. And I was like, crack is back? And they're like, yeah, crack is back. Now, let's be clear, little kids, all right? And anyone out there, don't do crack, all right? Don't do drugs at all. Just say no, in the famous words of Nancy Reagan. So let's go to Tennessee for the next story, all right? In a move that surely has the 1980s shaking for their leg warmers in excitement, the mayor of Galloway, Tennessee, has been graciously detained by police after what can only be described as a serendipitous automotive audit on Highway 59 South last Friday evening. It appears crack cocaine, yes, that perennial party guest thought long banished to the annals of outdated trends, has staged a rather uninvited encore, courtesy of Jamie Mayo, the 65-year-old mayor who was occupying the passenger throne in the offending conveyance. Mr. Mayo, ever the picture of civic responsibility, now faces the unenviable trifecta of accusations: simple possession of a controlled substance, the entrepreneurial endeavor of producing, distributing, or vending said substance, and the accessory sin of possessing drug paraphernalia. One might applaud the judiciary's restraint in setting his release at a modest $10,000 bond. After all, in these inflammatory times, who needs more? Well, the Tipton County enforcers of the peace recount a scene straight out of a low-budget flick. A Crimson Dodge Ram 1500 barreling northward on the aforementioned artery around 10:27 p.m. Its windows shrouded in illicit shadow, and its rear illuminations inexplicably on sabbatical. Naturally, such vehicular nonchalance warranted an immediate intervention. The operator, upon polite illumination of these aesthetic shortcomings, apparently saw it fit to grant unfettered access to the interior. Meanwhile, the co-pilot, our intrepid Mayo, exhibited what deputies charitably termed elevated anxiety, prompting a gentlemanly suggestion that he, alight for fresh air. A second sentinel of the law materialized to chaperone the egress, and low beneath the very cushion where Mr. Mayo had so recently perched himself, deputies unearthed a pristine 0.25 grams of crystalline delight, which field tested with all the enthusiasm of a positive pregnancy kit for cocaine base. Custody ensued with the swift inevitability of a plot twist in a town too small to hide secrets. Galloway's legal oracle, attorney Val Turner, assured the public that Mayo has since posted bond and clings tenaciously to his mayoral scepter, now in his sophomore lap around the electoral sun. And the Fayette County enclave nestled northeast of Arlington and boasting a robust population of 521 souls as of last year's ledger, evidently thrives under such dynamic stewardship. Word from the grapevine suggests that Mayo is presently assembling a group of jurists with an official missive poised for imminent dispatch. His encore performance is the docket is slated for Thursday, where one presumes the bench will weigh the merits of public service against the allure of retro pharmaceuticals. Now, in an area where back to basics slogans adorn everything from diets to politics, it's refreshing, downright inspirational to see crack cocaine reclaiming its spotlight. Who knew municipal governance could double as a time machine? Seriously, the mayor of a town of 521 caught with crack? Come on. That stuff is horrible. Don't use it. Go to prison kind of stuff. I mean, unbelievable. It's so addictive. Worst ever. Hey, let's talk about another family affair. An uncle thought it would be a good idea to pay his nephew to silence a victim with bullets. Yes, that's right. In a little bit of a twist that could only unfold in the Sunshine State, a 36-year-old paragon of moral fiber named Leonard White decided that the elegant solution to his 2023 indiscretion involving the unwanted advances on a 17-year-old high school junior was to outsource the problem to family. because nothing says keeping it in the family quite like compensating your own cousin with a cool $6,000 minimum to dispatch the young woman before she could share her side of the story with police. Well, federal prosecutors in Florida, specifically the Middle District, ever the buzzkills, revealed on Monday that White and his eager accomplice, 21-year-old Sheldon Robinson, have now earned themselves complimentary lifetime accommodations courtesy of the United States prison system. The duo's conviction on murder and conspiracy counts follow a trial that one imagines features more plot holes than a sieve. Now, for those keeping score at home, Robinson, apparently the sharp shooting specialist in his familial enterprises, unleashed what police poetically described as a barrage of gunshots upon Isabella Scavelli's response to a knock at her family's door back in February of 2023. The teenager, fleeing in understandable terror, took a fatal bullet to the back while seeking aid. Her mother, struck multiple times in the chaos, had the misfortune of collapsing just in time to witness the final moments of her daughter's life. A real heartwarmer. Anyway, Scavelli, whose identity as the assault victim surfaced via local reports, had the audacity to report White's alleged sexual misconduct to the sheriff's department a mere day prior. Timing, as they say, is everything, especially when it prompts a hasty recruitment drive for a hitman. Enter the supporting cast. A third player, 22-year-old Keyshawn Woods, opted for the path of least resistance by pleading guilty to his involvement in the symphony of obstruction. Additional charges for evidence tampering and justice evasion rounded out the bill for the principals, while Robinson's mother, Janet Williams, apparently felt compelled to audition for a perjury award by feeding investigators a tale or two herself. Family loyalty at its finest. Now, White, ever the strategic mastermind, took the bold step of advertising his services needed for murder online. Subtlety be damned, and then conveniently relocating out of state on the big day as if a change of scenery might magically dissolve ballistic evidence. Spoiler alert, it did not. Police, undeterred by such amateur theatrics, scooped up the conspirators in 2023, culminating in last week's jury verdict after a fortnight of what must have been riveting testimony. Oh, and for the encore, court records suggest the Brain Trust even floated the idea of eliminating yet another loose end. Because why stop at one tragedy when you can blueprint a sequel? As the trio shuffles back to court in January, they're staring down a menu of mandatory life sentences, multiple per person, just to ensure that no one feels shortchanged. One can only hope the accommodations include ample time for reflection on a better life choices, like, say, no turning relatives into reluctant assassins. You gotta love it. Family that does time together stays together. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. Next, kids these days. A 15-year-old progeny in Florida decided that November 3rd is the perfect day to audition for the role of Neighborhood Hulk. With a trusty metal shovel as her prop, police, ever the picture of surprise, caught the whole spectacle on body cam after dispatching officers to a domestic ruckus, courtesy naturally of the teenagers trailblazing herself. Anyway, picture the scene. As the patrol car rolls up, there she is, Amy Chance, center stage in the street, treating the hood of the cruiser like a stubborn piñata at a particularly aggressive birthday bash. Whack, whack, whack. Because nothing says mature conflict resolution quite like denting public property with farm tools. The two officers, bless their startled hearts, leap from the vehicle like it's a bad action movie sequel, drop it, they bellow, one of them fumbling for what looks like a taser, while muttering the understatement of the year, "Are you kidding me?" Our shovel-wielding starlet, perhaps realizing her improv skills need work, lets the tool clatter to the ground, takes a casual stroll backwards, and shoots them a glance that screams, "Wait, you mean isn't performance art?" But alas, the plot thickens with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. On the ground now, one cop commands, and down she goes, hands behind her back, kneeling on the asphalt like she's prepping for a very unglamorous photo shoot. Cuffs clicked and off to the slammer she went, snagging free, slapped with a felony mischief charge for racking up $1,200 of artistic enhancements to the car that she was beating on. As the Port St. Lucie PD so sagely noted, age is no shield for turning our streets into your personal demolition derby. Consequences await. Wise words. Truly. The spark for her shovel symphony, your guess is as good as mine. Details remain fashionably elusive. Next on the docket, a bizarre bank heist down in Louisiana. Let's jump down to Slidell, Louisiana. And so police down there are investigating a peculiar daylight robbery at a local bank where the perpetrator feigned a physical impairment to gain entry before making a swift getaway on foot, abandoning his ruse entirely upon his departure. Now, this incident occurred back on November 7th at the financial institution in the city, according to the statements by the police. Surveillance video capturing the event has been made public, highlighting the suspect's unusual tactics. Now, in the footage, the individual enters the premises, exhibiting signs of apparent injury, including a pronounced limp, the use of the walking cane, and a cervical collar around his neck. Once inside, he approaches a teller station and presented a written demand for money, simultaneously vocalizing the robbery to emphasize his intent. Police noted that the suspect secured an unspecified sum of currency before exiting the building. Notably, he immediately ceased his simulated mobility issues, proceeding to sprint away from the scene along the Choctaw Drive and into an adjacent residential area. Responding police deployed canine tracking units in an attempt to apprehend the individual. However, preliminary assessments suggest the suspect may have eluded capture by departing the vicinity in a motor car that was apparently stashed away. Now, the police department describes the perpetrator as an African-American male attired in gray athletic tracksuit, a face covering reminiscent of pandemic-era masks, the aforementioned neck brace, a bucket-style hat, a transparent waist pouch, and wielding the cane as a prop. Police are urging the public to come forward with any relevant information to help identify the suspect. Next on the docket, this day in legal history, November 11th, 1620. The Mayflower Compact is signed by 41 male passengers aboard the Mayflower at Cape Cod, establishing the first framework of self-government in the territory that would become the United States, obviously laying foundational principles for colonial consent of the governed under common law traditions. On this day, November 11th, 1831, Nat Turner, leader of the Southampton Slave Rebellion, is executed by hanging in Jerusalem, Virginia, following his trial for insurrection. The event intensified the national debate on slavery's constitutionality and due process under the Fifth Amendment, contributing to some pre-Civil War tensions. On this date, 1865, Henry Wirz, the Confederate commander of the Andersonville prison, is hanged in Washington, D.C. for war crimes resulting in the deaths of over 13,000 Union prisoners, marking the first U.S. execution for violation of the laws of war and establishing precedents for military tribunals under international humanitarian law. And on this date, in 1975, Gerald Ford restores Veterans Day observance to its original date of November 11th, starting in 1978, preserving historic significance and the federal holiday uniformity under the Uniform Monday Holiday Act's reversal. Next on the docket, a quote, a fitting legal quote for reflection today comes from Clarence Darrow, the renowned American lawyer and civil liberties advocator. Quote, as long as the world shall last, there will be wrongs. And if no man objected and if no man rebelled, those wrongs would last forever. End quote. Reminds you of the enduring imperative to challenge injustice through a principled action. And finally, our dumb criminal of the day. A Minnesota senior embraces au naturel landscaping. What could possibly go wrong? So in a bold declaration of personal liberty, or perhaps an ill-timed midlife epiphany, a 66-year-old resident of Lake Crystal, Minnesota, has been formally accused of prioritizing comfort over convention during his outdoor chores. Paul Severson, the gentleman in question, faces a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct stemming from a series of unabashedly unclosed appearances that have left his community both bemused and one's suspects mildly scared. According to the sheriff's office, Severson's panache for an au naturel activities came to a head on a crisp autumn day when deputies responded to reports of a man transforming his yard into a timber processing zone without the benefit of even a single sock. One particularly vivid account from a neighbor described the spectacle as chainsawing in a state of complete and utter bareness, a phrase that evokes less a scene from survivalist documentary and more of an unintended audition for a natural theme farce. The incident escalated when a deputy arriving to mediate encountered Severson emerging from the shadow of a garden shed in his birthday suit. With the diplomatic tact of a traffic cop at the nudist beach, the officer gently reminded him that such displays, while perhaps liberating for the participant, pose certain logistical challenges in a neighborhood teeming with school buses and minivans. Clothing is recommended when minors and motorists are in the vicinity, the report paraphrases, underscoring the delicate balance between individual expression and, communal decorum. This wasn't Severson's debut performance either. Locals had previously flagged his habit of tending to lawn duties in the raw, culminating in a particularly awkward episode 2 weeks prior to the formal complaint filed on November 4th. Now, on that occasion, a young scholar observed the morning school shuttle received an unsolicited lesson in human anatomy, prompting a hasty parental alert to police. One can only imagine the ensuing classroom discussion veering perilously close to show and tell territory. As Severson navigates the legal aftermath, his case serves as a bit of a reminder. In the heartland, where flannel shirts are particularly a uniform, the line between free-spirited and felonious conduct can blur faster than a chainsaw through fresh pine. For now, the suspect's wardrobe malfunction remain a local legend destined to fuel neighborhood barbecues for seasons to come. Mr. Sessions, put on some clothes, please. There's children around. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for today. Hope you enjoyed the holiday. Have a wonderful day. And remember, the Constitution matters.